How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Twilight Zone Issue number 3. This one's entitled The Relic and was written and drawn by James Stokoe. And this is a pretty fun little issue. You get a battle scene between a kingdom and this roving gang of marauders, and the messenger starts to say something along the lines of, "Be careful, our god is inside this building and we are duty bound to protect him." It's science fiction, but it winds up having this goofy sense of humor behind it, and it goes in a direction that you don't expect from the beginning. Overall, I did like it, and I thought it was a pretty fun little journey. The humor really added a bit, and it wound up being a pretty fun little read. But that being said, I do have a few notes. While the reveal at the end was good, goofy fun, it's not entirely original. The exact flavor of it is unique to this issue, but it is a trope that we had seen before. But second, and I said this about the last issue as well, if you guys remember my review for issue 2, I said it didn't feel like the Twilight Zone. Issue 2 really felt more like a Lost in Space comic. This one, you get fantasy warlords drawn in an energetic style with a fun, cartoony twist at the end of it. Honestly, I was reading through this and I'm like, you know what this is? This is a good heavy middle story. Heavy middle, not the Twilight Zone. And I do wonder how much that should be taken into account. If it's a fun story, it's a fun story, but it doesn't really fit within what should be the book's theme. Issue 1 was a classic Twilight Zone story. I thought it really worked. Issue 2 didn't work quite as well, and Issue 3 works, but it's super goofy, and when I pick up a Twilight Zone book, it's not really what I expect. I mean, you can tell me the concept and you can tell me the twist at the end, and I think if you're honestly thinking about it, you'll say, that is almost the Twilight Zone, but not really. And even though it's anthology, I really do feel like having a central theme for the book is important. Twilight Zone feels like the Twilight Zone. Tales from the Dark Side feels like Tales from the Dark Side. Heavy Middle feels like Heavy Middle. They're anthology stories, they're all different, sure, but each one has an underlying tone to it. I don't know. Like I said, it's not as original as it maybe thinks it is. It is fun enough and I did appreciate it. It just feels like the wrong flavor for what this book should be. Don't get me wrong, I love Heavy Middle magazine, or at least the classic ones, and I did enjoy this story, just I worry the book's getting a little bit off track. But who knows, we only have 2 issues to go, and I'm curious what they'll be like. We might have some good stuff coming up, but I do want to know, if you guys read this book, what do you think of it? Was it too silly? I don't know. Fun for what it is, but it is what it is I guess what I have to say. But anyway, if you guys want to see a little bit more, I'm going to switch to the close-up camera. I'll show you guys some of the story and the art. I'll try to avoid too much of the ending, so no major spoilers, but without further ado, let's go ahead and switch to the close-up camera. Alright, here we are inside the castle taking a closer look at the Twilight Zone issue number 3, The Relic. And right off the bat, a really cool cover with this knight character. Bring it closer to the camera, we can see the candles and the monks behind him. And even this little detail with the pelican here is pretty fun. Of course, if you guys are paying attention and notice the thing that's off with this is an old-timey knight, but why does he have an American flag cape? Have to read the issue to find out. There's the barcode at the bottom. There's the story name, IDW Dark, number 3, $4.99 US. In the back of the book, we have a next issue, and it appears that there's a couple going to the lake with a brother that has some sort of vendetta against them, and something's going to happen. Can't wait to read that. Behind that is the cover gallery. There's a virgin version of the A, and we get to see the next in the Francesco Francavilla line. That would be cool to have all of his with this reoccurring character and the Twilight Zone opening words. And some classic Twilight Zone stuff up top. there's the C cover, and after the C, we get a sneak peek, a couple pages of Smile for the Camera, which is a comic book tie-in to the Smile movies. I'm going to be super interested in reading that. That looks really fun. But let's jump to the front. The Twilight Zone, The Relic, written, drawn, and lettered by James Stokoe, and inspired by the original CBS television series. After that, we get into the story proper. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, so I'll try not to go too far, but I do want to show you guys some of the story, some of the art, and say my piece on a few plot points. So let's go ahead and dive in. The opening page is a picture of this relic in a museum. It talks about how it used to be commonplace and they painted a battle scene on it, but now it's in a museum, it's preserving part of our history. And we get this little ashtray here implying who's supposed to be talking. Yeah, I guess they couldn't get Rod Serling's likeness. But there are a few clues here as to what's going to happen later in the issue that on a reread you can get. But anyway, it says, hey, you know this image on the front? Let's jump to a very similar scene, and we get this nice big battle splash with a few little panels on the bottom showing you what's going on. And overall, a cool scene. Not really something I'd ever expect to see in the Twilight Zone, but a cool scene nonetheless. I love all the little guys in here and how they've raised the walls to catch the arrows. That's pretty fun. Well, we go away from the battlefield into the tents of the leader, and we get to meet this warlord character and a messenger from the fortress they're trying to attack. And the messenger starts talking about how you may overwhelm us, but it's our duty to protect the temple because of our God. And we do get a whole speech about how he's conquered many people with many gods, and he'll just add theirs to the collection. He's disrespectful of it. It is a bit of an interesting conversation, though. And we also get this clue where the messenger refers to holy refreshment, which of course the guy mocks and throws his drink in his face. But the messenger says, when you see the power, you will listen. Well, cut to a little while later, they've made it to the walls of the fortress, and they're raising some ladders to go over, and they've begun the actual invasion. Once on the inside, they get to the big hall in the center and are met with this knight character staring them down. After the stare-off, all the knights go into the temple, and as he turns around, you can see the American flag on his back. A quick clue, and you wonder what they're going to find in the temple. We, of course, get them breaking down the door, and they're ready for a big showdown. I won't go any farther than that. As I said, I'm trying to avoid spoilers. The American flag thing was on the cover. But yeah, after that, we get into what I think is a pretty interesting idea. It's not an idea that I haven't seen before, and I'm sure there'll be those of you that say, oh, it's like this or like that. This exact interpretation of it is new and has some pretty fun iconography behind it, and it does lead to some fun moments. Something you can think about, but also has a good joke behind it. As I said in the earlier part, though, it's almost a Twilight Zone twist, but not exactly like something the Twilight Zone would do. And again, if I read this story in heavy metal, I would be super pumped for it. Reading it in the Twilight Zone, I didn't think it was bad, but it was just kind of a case of, what are you doing here? And that is the thing, is anthology can do a bunch of different stuff, but I really do feel that a series should have an overarching voice, and between these last two issues, it's gotten a little bit muddled. Don't get me wrong, issue 3 is way better than issue 2, but I really want, especially with the book being in black and white and having the Twilight Zone branding, I really do want more of a Twilight Zone-y feel to it. So yeah, not bad, just kind of the wrong place. But you know what, whatever, I am a heavy metal fan, so the story was fun, just not exactly what I was looking for here. And I'd be curious if this is something you guys care about. There'll probably be some of you that say, so what if it doesn't fit? If it's a fun story, it's a fun story, and I guess I do get that. But I'll leave that up to you guys to discuss in the comments. So yeah, I guess overall a recommendation from me, even though I do feel it doesn't quite fit, but whatever. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Twilight Zone playlist. If you guys want to see me talk about the other issues of the comic, feel free to click right here and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Playlist here. Have a good day now.